Windmills. No matter how controversial they may be, in this presentation we will explore windmills on Cape Cod, Massachusetts and the Cape and Islands. My name is Luke Pierre.
I'm Addie Gree.
I'm Olivia Thompson.
And I'm Tessa Ripley.
Most know that the Cape is famous for one iconic monster lurking in its waters.
But what if we told you another dangerous beast hides amongst the Cape's infamous waters?
That being wind turbines. Here's the Cape's wind turbine problem. The turbines aren't functioning as they should. They are breaking, collapsing, and causing visual disturbance, which has led to local uproar. This leads us to the question:
how can we find a balance between effective wind turbines and the health of the Cape and Islands?
According to a National Geographic case study, offshore wind energy was first introduced to Massachusetts in 2001 with the Cape Wind Project. The project was set to have included 130 turbines spanning 65 acres of what were public water in Nantucket Sound. However, due to massive amounts of public pushback, the project was failed in 2017 and never constructed.
To understand our question, we first need to grasp how windmills work. Windmills primarily use kinetic energy. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, wind flows through the turbine blades, creating lift and spin. This motion powers a generator, which then converts the energy into electricity.
Let's dive deeper into these controversial wind farms. Well, according to MyTags, or the Marine Institute of Technology and Graduate Studies, offshore wind farms are generally more effective at generating energy due to sea winds being more robust and blowing in the same direction. In addition, they are also bigger in size, leading to an increase in efficiency. Projects are also strictly regulated in order to minimize potential environmental impacts, but the extent of these regulations does cause much controversy on the Cape and Islands.
According to a Massachusetts state press release, Governor Maura Healey has committed the state to being at least net zero on carbon emissions by 2050. Offshore wind turbines are a massive component into this plan due to their green energy capabilities.
Tourism remains the cornerstone to Cape Cod's economy. Each summer, they can expect approximately 4 million visitors, bringing in over $1 billion in total revenue. General Electric and their subsidiary, GE Renova, play a huge role in manufacturing these wind turbines. Over the course of its 20 years of operation, the wind turbines have generated Cape Cod approximately $2 billion, although these wind turbines cost the taxpayers approximately $1,400 per kilowatt of energy produced. At the start, these seem slightly expensive, although they in total cost approximately $1 billion.
This leads us to the Cape's turbine collapse. Now, what exactly happened? On July 15, 2024, a Vineyard wind turbine collapsed on the south side of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. According to Cape Cod Times, the collapse was due to insufficient bonding between blades as well as torsional fatigue. Torsional fatigue, being one of the main factors of this collapse, occurs when the twisting of materials harms the turbine. This begins to link issues between material science and corrosion, as offshore turbines are more vulnerable due to their exposure of salt water and harsh conditions. According to the Institute of Corrosion, inadequate corrosion protection and poor material choices can degrade components over time. As mechanical engineer Robert Boujdier stated, incorrect material corrosion management can lead to a decrease in the lifespan and efficiency of a wind turbine, increasing the potentials to failures like torsional fatigue.
As seen, the material of these turbines does matter. In an interview on the Cape Coast and Islands NPR station, Yves Zakhoff analyzed a report by Arcadis, the firm, that went over the fact that there are no harmful materials within the turbines. But on the exterior side of the blade, there are these small aerodynamic add-ons that do contain Teflon, a harmful substance. In addition, Valeria Lasapanara, professor at the University of California, Davis in Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, stated that the turbines do contain polyester, vine luster, PVC foams, and gel coat. These are all carcinogenic materials. Well, so what? Well, according to Cleveland Clinic Medical, carcinogens interact with the cell's DNA over time, therefore causing mutations, thus significantly increasing one's chance of gaining cancerous cells.
In a peer research study conducted by Brian Kennedy, it was found in a sample size of 210 Americans that 72% of them were strongly in favor of expanding wind energy in the U.S. In the study, he then proceeded to ask participants a series of questions about wind turbines. What the questioning did was replicate how those who live locally to wind turbines think and experience the issues caused by them. He then asked participants again about their opinions on wind turbines, and it was found that support fell by 26%. This can be attributed to a term called NIMBYism, which is when people want infrastructure built but not built near them. This stems from the Not in My Backyard movement, which runs rampant on the Cape surrounding wind turbines.
An additional study has stated that property values could decrease by up to 15% as wind turbines develop on the Cape. This could be detrimental to the tourism industry.
In another Research study, nationally, it was found that 92% of Democrats and 61% of Republicans are in favor of expanding wind energy in the US. What this gap in support can be attributed to is Democrats generally holding a stronger belief in bettering our climate through green energy sources than Republicans do. However, what makes this data interesting is when we apply it to the Cape Cod area, a region in which every county voted blue in the 2024 election. Why do we still see so much public uproar over wind turbines despite it being a Democratic area? Because they're affecting people.
In addition, marine life is also potentially under attack. According to NOAA, or the National Marine Fisheries Service, site assessment, construction, and operations on or near the Vineyard Wind site can cause an increase in ocean noise, introduce an electromagnetic field that could impact navigation, communication, fish mating, and predator detection. It could create a change in an organism's life cycle, and it could create a reef effect, and it could increase vessel strikes.
The turbine collapse also highlights issues of intermittency and energy efficiency. Wind power is inherently diverse, depending on local wind patterns. According to the Bonneville Power Administration, intermittency causes power productions and potential disruptions. These discrepancies cause issues for operators who have to balance the supply and demand of wind energy in real time. This highlights the issues that are represented when a wind turbine collapses, and it affects a multitude of power sources, making this sense of stability crucial.
The Cape Cod government has had to provide over $19 million in compensation to commercial fishermen. This does only apply to commercial fishermen, whereas recreational fishermen are also impacted. There is an additional $7 million to out-of-state, non-Massachusetts commercial fishermen.
The final issue we will discuss is the site-specific design of the offshore turbines. Site-specific design is a method of construction in which an engineer provides documents and technology specifically made for your site. While the Cape's turbines do show some consistencies, this collapse highlights its weaknesses. As Ashwani K. Gupta, a mechanical engineer at the University of Maryland, explains, while the standard 3-blade rotor design is widely used, its stability completely depends on local conditions. Without these adjustments for local conditions, issues can be found within the turbines, which also contributes to this collapse.
Well, what has already been done? Most events and protests have been organized and executed by concerned locals on both the Cape and Islands. For example, in May of 2023, a group of fishermen brought this problem to the state legislature. The District Court of the District of Massachusetts rejected claims that the NOAA made about the wind turbines that they violated the Endangered Species Act. In addition, a group of fishermen with 15 to 20 boats descended on the Vineyard Wind project site for a one-time flotilla protest. Their goal, to peacefully protest against the offshore wind industry.
So what can be done? Collaborative initiatives between the U.S. Department of Energy's WEDO, or Wind Energy Technology Office, could collaborate with private organizations such as the Electric Power Research Institute. According to the Berkeley Lab, we could see a cost reduction from between 30 to 40% by 2030. And better yet, from this graph, we could see a cost reduction from between 40 to 50% by 2050.
Collaboration is the key to finding a balance between effective wind turbines and the health of the Cape and Island and its people. This leads us to our most probable solution, MATLA, or the Massachusetts Wind Energy Oversight Committee. The committee would be paid for by funds from the flotilla protest, which we would bring back as an annual thing, and consists of 7 elected members, one of which being an advisor from Vineyard Wind, 4 being community members, and 2 being scientists/engineers. What this would do would ensure that the public's opinions would be reflected, as well as the values of the scientific and engineering community, and the values of the wind companies would be reflected in future decisions made surrounding wind turbines in Massachusetts.
The pros of this solution is that it involves the local community in decision-making, it develops site-specific and efficient turbine designs, and it addresses the balance between environmental and local concerns.
With the cons being, it requires strong coordination, the initial cost is expensive, it's dependent on ongoing finding and volunteers, and the long-term success rate is uncertain.
So what now? While our solution cannot be completed within a month, it still sets up the positive building blocks for true change to be present within the community of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard.
Thank you so much for your time, and here's our works cited.
Okay, perfect. 9:42.
Squeeze it. Just for the facts.
Yes.
All right, let's get to your questions. Oh, absolutely. All right. Let's begin with Luke. All right, describe an argument from one of your peers' lenses that made you think differently about your team's solution or conclusion.
Thank you for that question, Ms. Brunel. I believe one of Tess's argument of how windmills can produce carcinogens is very effective to windmills, and that, as I mentioned, the tourism industry is huge on Cape Cod. So if we have tourists in the water that are also being polluted by carcinogens, that can be very problematic. So I had to think differently about how to approach tourism on the Cape.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, Tessa. Describe how the content of the team's presentation was changed as a result of group discussion.
Well, thank you for your question, Ms. Brunel. Before Addie was joined into our group, because she was joined into our group, me, Olivia, and Luke were all strong on the environmental, economic, and scientific lenses, and we really focused on the corrosion, as Olivia said, and the materials used, and the tourism industry. But when Addie was introduced and we started discussing, we learned about NIMBYism and how people are actually affected. And it's not just like scientifically or environmentally, it's really like mentally. And I thought it really affected our discussion and it made our presentation stronger.
Okay, good, thank you. All right. Olivia, in what way did you improve your ability to work with a group as a result of this project?
Thank you for your question. I think this project really pushed us all in different ways, but it especially made me improve my critical thinking skills and making sure I can include all perspectives into my own thinking to create a more holistic group approach. When I initially just focused on the scientific aspects, I was so heavily in my head on corrosion and site management, I started to often overlook things such as NIMBYism. So as we started to have these group discussions and really start to work together and have these very educational conversations on different opinions, I was able to gain this perspective which I originally didn't have. And it overall improved my group skills by learning how to listen to others.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, and Addie, having finished your project, what, if anything, do you consider to be a gap in your team's research that, if addressed, would make you feel more confident about your conclusion?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Brunel. Had we had more time to work on this project, I would have loved to do more community outreach and get more personal opinions from community members to have reflected